Welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I'm Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is my amazing co-host Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm introspective. My head's going a mile a minute, but everything is good. How about you?
So it's a normal day that we get together.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. My mind's going a mile a minute as well, so this should be a fun conversation. So,
Yeah. Here we
what are we
go.
talking about today?
This started off being a conversation with a client, and it started off being a conversation with my husband in a different way. And I figured, okay, I'm just going to bring it to the rest of the world. So, are you constantly worrying about the next part of your life? I'm not so sure about the word worry, but that's a word that people are concerned. How could I retire? All of this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
How much time do I have to make a name for myself? Whatever. Has it occurred to you that you're right in the middle of what you used to look forward to? And what are you doing to honor that?
That's a great one. I think that that's an interesting perspective because I think as we've covered in other episodes, one of our challenges is we're always looking for my COO has a perfect description of this: a bigger, better deal. What's happening next? Where are we going? What's the next big thing? And I kind of always look at that because if you think about always striving for what's next, you don't actually take the time to stop and honor where you are right now. And I think especially as it relates to our successes, where we are with our career path, where we are with certain relationships, it's important to stop and honor that, and be able to celebrate that in some capacity. Because if you aren't doing that, well, then what was the point?
Exactly. We're doing a lot of work around mastery and George Leonard's book on mastery, and he started the keys to mastery, and we're continuing that. And I'm looking at you achieve mastery when you're plateauing, not when you're moving. That's
Hmm.
when you become at one with whatever you're trying to master. You don't achieve mastery, you evolve into mastery. And it's so subtle that you turn around years later and you go, that's like part of who I am. It's not what I do. It's I do what I am, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And to take a moment and really view that as you having expanded on what you do, and your impact is critical. However, that's not what we tend to do. We tend to say to ourselves, that inner voice saying, I can't stagnate if I just stay here.
yeah.
That's People are going to think I'm stagnating or resting on my laurels or whatever expression that you want to use here. And that's not what it is. What it is the subtle tweaks, the action are already becoming masterful at. And to celebrate what you're contributing to society, to the world, to your relationships and everything else, if you're always looking at what's next, you're not at one with the present, which is where the future is created anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, I love that perspective, but I think it's hard, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not cultured that way. I don't think that a lot of us have ever been guided to sit back and really celebrate what we've done or what we've experienced. It's always on to the next thing, the next challenge, the next issue. And those things will always be there. But if you actually take a step back and you kind of deconstruct that from a practicality perspective, the expectations of always doing what's next is always going to be there. And so that's, you can rest assured that there's no challenge in having to worry about that because it'll be there, you know, but the current, to be able to take a day or a week or just any period of time to reflect on where you are right now in comparison to where you have been, and all of the decision points, all of the relationships, all of the opportunities, everything that flowed to help you get to this specific spot right now, I think is really a powerful tool. As you talk about mastery, I do think that, I'm going to completely paraphrase here, but I had watched an old interview with Bruce Lee, the martial artist. Right, he was considered a master, martial art, I guess you call him martial artist, right? And he was asked about that level of attainment and that skill set, and he said, I don't look at myself as a master. I look at myself as a student. I embrace what I know and what I have done, but
Mm,
I can always get better. And I that really stuck out to me because he equated himself to an ever-ending student. He could look back and he could reflect on everything he had done to get to a certain level, multiple black belts, the highest level of attainment in terms of that skill set. And yet he still equated himself as a constant learner and used that experience to sort of inform what he did next, how he approached, getting better and more efficient and more accurate. And that always struck me as a really interesting take on the perspective of being a master at anything, right? Are you ever really truly there? And at some point, even if you have gotten there, right, and you are considered the best of whatever you do, going back to say, hey, what did I learn? How did I experience it? How did I get to this point in my life or my career? And then celebrating that for what it is, but then also learning from it again to be even better as you go forward, I think is kind of an interesting take on, sort of this approach. So I don't know. It just made me think of that interview with him, and just how that stuck out to me at the time.
it's amazing because George Leonard was an Aikido master. So
Oh,
all these martial arts that teach you so much. I look at the uh, the school that I used to run that I recently closed, and one of the things that people who learned from me loved was when I had a grad basic. And when I first put it out there, they go, what? What is a grad basic? I said, that is going back to the basics from the perspective of somebody who's graduated, who's integrated, what I've created, and they come back with what they learned in the doing, and they bring it back to the group to share their successes or their struggles in working with some people, and they learn from each other from the perspective of going back to the basics
yeah.
and to celebrate how far they've come over time. Because I always have that piece in there. You started off here and now you're here, and seriously take a moment and recognize how far you've come so that it's at one with who you are. And
Hmm.
that's the question. Did it ever occur to you that you're exactly where you wanted to be when you started off? And celebrate the fact that you got there. You put in the
Yeah.
time, the effort, and everything else. Doesn't mean there isn't more to come. And I
Yeah.
believe that, as long as we learn, we're not going to die. That's pretty much it. The
That's
minute we
right.
stop learning, we just start stagnating and withering away
Yep.
emotionally, intellectually. So I'm always learning. I'm always seeing, how does this apply to my life, to people I work with, and open to the possibility of taking a left turn or a right turn, or continuing straight up. So I really think that's a great conversation for us to have.
Yeah.
What did you want to do 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Did you get there, and did you pay attention to the fact that you got there?
Yeah.
Now what? Yeah.
Yeah. I think a really good activity for our audience is to sit down and really reflect on where they came from. Where did you, like you said, where did you start off and where are you now? What have you accomplished? What have you experienced? What have you learned? What relationships have come into your life personally or professionally because of what it is that you do? And what makes you absolutely happy and proud about where you are right now? Just those questions, right? Open up a dialogue internally for you to really reflect on all of the different avenues. If I just started with where I was 10 years ago in comparison to where I am now, it just opens up kind of an explosion of, wow, gosh, look at everything that I have done, everything that I've been able to make happen that I never thought possible, right? And 10 years ago, it would have been look like this monumental mountain to climb. And then you realize that you're actually, on the summit looking backwards now, and now figuring out, okay, just look at everything that you went through, every twist and turn, and what you had to learn and what you had to challenge yourself, all the ups and the downs, and the lessons that those provided. And it really does give you a completely different perspective. And I think the pregnant pause, as we've talked about before, is so essential, because before you go on to the next peak, right? The next big thing, yet learn to appreciate everything you've done up to this juncture to accomplish where you're at exactly right now. And I think the more that you can get comfortable doing that, the more you make this part of your process, the more grateful you become, the more powerful you become in your own confidence and your own recognition of your abilities, which actually, if you think about it, really just makes you that much stronger for what's next.
Exactly right. And it becomes a foundational piece. It's not the finish line. What it is it's a platform for which you could spring off and integrate everything that you are, everything you learned, to do more, learn more, achieve more, or do the same thing and broaden your scope. You're still moving in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So it is a springboard. It's not that finish line. I
Yeah.
don't look at things as a finish line ever. Even when I take a course, for example, and I've gone back to school, heaven knows how many times. Just shoot me if I'm going to do it again. And and I realized that even after I got the degree or the certificate or whatever else, I'm still asking, what didn't I learn? Like, what don't I know that I need to know? So that learning is a constant, and it's living out of curiosity and inquiry, which opens your world to something so much broader than what you know. And it's exciting. It's really exciting when you actually acknowledge, though, that you've achieved something. This is the yes and conversation.
Yeah.
It's not an either or thing. It's not, I did this, now what? I did this and I could do this and build on it. And I could learn and bring this to the world.
Yeah.
I learned that this morning at a breakfast that I was at for cancer research and cancer supporting the research, the fundraiser. And I'm looking at, what are they trying, that they said, what do we have to lose, right?
Yeah.
We're going
Yeah.
to try something. And if it works, holy mackerel, we're going to build on it. And they've been doing that consistently in research for COVID, vaccines, everything else. Why don't we do that in life?
Yeah. 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 I agree wholeheartedly. I think even when you go back to what you're saying about taking that, staying in a state of curiosity, right? Learning what you've learned. I think actually, if you were to say come through a class or go through a course, or you went back to school and got a different degree, asking that question, okay, so this was great. I accomplished this. I'm happy and proud of what I've done, but what can I do with this now? What else is there to learn? What else is there or how else can I apply this in other aspects of my life to keep that flame of curiosity, burning bright, and that fire in your belly keep moving forward? I might actually suggest to our audience that you celebrate one day a year, which is your birthday, right? What if you, gave the gift to yourself at a different time of year that you recognize and would call it the present day, right? At the end of the day, you actually sit there and say, what have I done? What have I accomplished? One day a year to sit down and ask those questions we asked earlier, to recognize where you are and what you've accomplished, to celebrate you. Maybe it's just the party for one, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, imagine how invigorating that is to keep you in a mode of celebration and appreciation, right? And be able to really truly embrace the gratitude of where and where life has taken you and the opportunities that's presented to you every year. If you did that and you were able to just celebrate, it's not something most people would ever stop to do, right? Do it just for you, because it will invigorate and fire you up to want to continue on going forward to see what you do for the next year. What a gift that could be to you.
I think that's a great idea. And I'm going to add to it. When you do that, stop yourself, because this is, again, it's human nature, from comparing yourself to other people.
Yes.
From comparing yourself and saying, well, so and so did something and it's so much more powerful. No, no, no. This is about comparing you to you.
Yeah.
This is about your growth, what you've accomplished, what you've achieved.
Yeah.
You impact one person's life. Trust me, that's going to go a lot further than that one person.
Yeah. You're
If
absolutely
you
right.
look at yourself and impact yourself by doing this, you're going to have more to be able to go around, to contribute, to be able to touch other people, whether it's in your business, in your relationships, doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a great topic. This is one that I'm anxious to hear how our listeners respond and react to it. Whether you're hearing this episode on a podcast platform, we appreciate that your ears led you to us, or if you happen to catch us on Facebook or on YouTube, we'd love and invite you to comment and let us know what you took away from this. If this is something that you'll take as an opportunity to really celebrate where you are right now, and really take the time to go back through that and ask those questions, and to see how you come up with those answers, and really what comes of this episode because of it. So we'd love to hear from you. And Donna, how can people let us know what their takeaways were, or what their experience from this episode might be, or any other topics they might like us to cover in a future episode?
Best way is to join our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds, with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. You could always also subscribe to our podcasts and our YouTube channel, and social media. We're all over the social media. You could find our links at ripplecentral.com for Steve, the king of the Rippler. And I'm at Donna Carlin with a K.com. And we would love to hear from you and hear about any other topics you'd like us to discuss.
Absolutely. Well, Donna, thank you very much for this great conversation. This I learned so much during these opportunities to sit down and have these conversations. And I know based on the feedback I'm getting from our audience, people do as well. And so I'm grateful for the time and the opportunity to have these chats with you. So we'll look forward to our next episode of Inquiring Minds coming back to you very soon.
Have a great one.